Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this interesting session on Atmanirbhar Bharat, reorienting the policy roadmap to achieve self-sufficiency. And I am Gurmeet Singh Chuk. I'm managing director of Translumina. It is a company that manufactures high-end medical devices for cardiology, and at the same time, joint coordinator with Association of Indian Medical Device Industry. So, friends, Atmanirbhar Bharat is we all know, is the vision of our Prime Minister Narendra Modi for Make India a self-reliant nation across all product lines. The first mention of this came in the form of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan or Self-Reliant India Mission during the announcement of coronavirus pandemic-related economic package on 12th May 2020. And I think this period we all know have not only tested our capabilities uh, in terms of how we can operate business in this environment, but has also tested across the world, the countries in terms of your preparedness to handle these pandemics, by themselves and without relying on anybody else. So the one good part of this policy was that this policy was not aimed to be protectionist in nature, or like in some countries where like China or others where they are closing the borders or making it very difficult for the other players to come and do business there. And our finance minister also clarified that self-reliant India does not mean cutting off from the rest of the world, but it means that rather we make our atmosphere here more vibrant, which gives an advantage to the domestic manufacturer, but at the same time creates huge amount of opportunities from people across the world to come and do the manufacturing here rather than bringing the products by manufacturing in other countries and using India only for conducting the business and taking away the profits away from the country. So, but at the same time, there was a critics who were saying that Atmanirbhar Bharat, or whether we call it the another tagline where we said "vocal for local," was a repackaged form of Make in India, and yet they formed that the India has to travel a pretty long way in terms of achieving this vision. So I think this is a this is a topic which we have here. And before I comment anything more, I think I have a very excellent elite panel with me, whom will be deliberating with whom about the Atmanirbhar Bharat, especially with related to healthcare and with a very specific reference to medical devices. So I take the opportunity to introduce the eminent panelists. First of all, I am very excited to have Mr. Navdeep Rinwa with us. He's the Joint Secretary Medical Device Policy from Department of Pharmaceuticals, which comes under the Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers. Mr. Rinwa, in the last couple of years, have been very instrumental in bringing a lot of new policies and have been a great crusader for all the domestic manufacturers to ensure that a lot of conducive environment is created around in the government for domestic manufacturing. So, Mr. Rinva, I'm very pleased to have you around with us. Then we have Mr. Rajiv Nath. We all know him. He's again a very active individual for the interest of domestic manufacturing. He's a managing director of Hindustan Syringes and Medical Devices Limited, and the forum coordinator and the leader of IMED, All India Association of Medical Devices. I have my friend Mr. Ganesh Sawant. He's the CEO of SMT, and along with us, SMT is one of the largest players in the medical device sector, especially in the field of cardiology. Then I have Miss Malini Asola. We all know her pretty well. She has been a great crusader who leads All India Drug Action Network, and she has been instrumental in looking at the interest of the patients, and also keeps an eye on all of us, and alerts us when something is going not right for the patients. And I'm also pleased to have Ms. Rama Venugopal, who's the head of value added corporate services. She's from Chennai, and one of the best consultants for regulatory, and has helped a lot of medical devices companies in India to see the certification internationally and to create that preparedness. So I think from that perspective, we have a very powerful panel with us, and I think we are going to have a very good session. So, Mr. Rinva, if I may first come to you, and so you have been in the government, you have been in the as a center point for medical devices. So my first question is that what is the government objective of creating this Atmanirbhar movement, and what does it mean for us, especially the medical device manufacturers? Mr. Rinva, I'm sorry, you're mute. Yeah.
Inviting me to this webinar. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Actually, I was trying to connect through this desktop, but somehow the audio is not getting connected. So I'm connected to my mobile phone. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
So this objective of Atmanirbhar Bharat is to become self-reliant in terms of the needs of the economy. And we have recently come out with 4 new schemes, as you must be knowing. Schemes on parks, one for bulk drug and one for medical device. And then we have come out 2 schemes which are for production linked incentives. One scheme is for medical devices, another is for bulk drugs. Because we starting even for essential medicines on a single source country, which is not a good situation to have. Any small problem within that country can lead to supply disruptions, and it's linked to our drug security. So we identified about 53 incentives. We have offered incentives 10% on KPIs and 20%.
Mr. Rinva, we are losing your voice.
Scheme poses incentives on those medicines.
Mr. Rinva, we are hearing you a little bit. Your volume is a little low. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
I'll try to speak louder.
Yeah, this is better. This is better.
Maybe now.
Yes.
Where we have defined type of local suppliers, and the tenders to 200 rupees 200 are limited to local suppliers only by default. The procuring puts out a case that there needs to be a global tender. Only then a global tender is allowed. Purchase less than rupees 200 crores. So which is also a very good incentive for Make in India. And I think with these 2 schemes, that the situation will
Mr. Rinva, I think what we will do is that why don't you try to again reconnect, because your voice is coming up and down. You're audible, but then it goes up and down as we move forward. So why don't you take your time to connect, and I'll come back to you once you're connected from your desktop, and maybe I'll ask the organizers to deal with you to ensure that you're connected, because your comments are very valuable, and we should ensure that everybody listens to you.
Connect to my desk.
Please take your time. We'll move to the other panelists and we'll come back to you once you have joined back. Yeah. So, I think it's a glitch, and which can happen anytime we are in this online world now. So, Rajiv, coming back to you, you have really led this movement since last couple of years, and specifically with regards to creating the environment for Indian manufacturing. So, from the time you led the initiatives when this Make in India was announced almost 4 5 years back to this Atmanirbhar Bharat, do you think that there is a shift in the policy framework, or you are expecting something really significant to happen, or do you think it's more a slogan for the same old policies? Rajiv, you have got my question? Mr. Rajiv Nath, are you able to hear me?
Uh,
I think, yeah. So,
I think
we'll come back to you. We also have some glitches with Rajiv Nath. So, by the time of Atmanirbhar Bharat by the government, and you being the center point of all the activity, so you may just want to repeat it, that what exactly does it mean for the domestic manufacturers?
Gurmeet, are you asking me to speak?
Yes. And Mr.
Yes.
Rinva, you're absolutely very well audible now. So please start from beginning your answer.
Thank you, Gurmeet. As I said earlier, that Department of Pharmaceuticals has come out recently with the detailed guidelines of 4 new schemes. 2 schemes are related to medical devices, and 2 schemes are related to active pharmaceutical ingredients. And the scheme medical devices, one is the park-based scheme, where Government of India proposes to give financial support to state governments who are going to come up with 4 medical devices parks. And then there is a scheme where we give incentive to manufacturers who are going to manufacture medical devices in 4 selected segments of high technology medical devices. And similarly with the bulk drugs. And the idea is to ensure that the medical devices where we are currently importing are started manufacturing in India, and similarly with APIs where we import from a single country about 53 APIs, and we want those APIs to be made in India so that we are not too much dependent on a single country. Along with these 2 schemes, I would also like to mention the recent public procurement order that DPIIT has come out in June this year, where they have defined 2 types of local suppliers: those which have domestic content more than 50% and those which have domestic content more than 30%. And in tenders of procurement up to rupees 200 crores, only local suppliers are allowed. If a procuring entity or department feels that a global tender is required, they have to give reasons and then give a proposal to a competent authority for going for a global tender. Now, this is a huge development for the domestic manufacturers, where tenders worth 200 crores are only limited for local suppliers. And also if we see the corporate income tax, which has been reduced to 15% for new companies. So if we see combined all these initiatives, there is a huge scope for domestic manufacturers now to come up and start manufacturing such devices, such APIs, which hitherto were not being manufactured here. And I hope that will be successful to considerable extent in bringing manufacturing in these areas in our country.
Thank you, Mr. Rinva. And
I would just like to take this opportunity to mention that the COVID crisis has certainly shown that the domestic manufacturers can come up to any challenge. In such a short span of time, we have started manufacturing products where we were totally dependent on imports, and we are not only making for Indians, we have now started exporting those items. Initially, the government had put ban and restrictions on exports, fearing that we will not be able to produce up to our requirement. But slowly we have realized the kind of strength our domestic industry has and how fast they scaled up. Now we have removed the restriction on these COVID-related items, on all the items. There is no export restriction. So this has also given us a lot of confidence that our industry policy incentives and schemes can come up in any area that we want our industry to come up.
Especially the public procurement order, which you discussed about, is very, very encouraging. And I must also congratulate you because you have been in the center space for all these activities. And it's been a great support for the domestic manufacturers, which you are offering since the last couple of years you have come into this role. So I think that's a good news. And Mr. Rajiv Nath, are you, am I audible or are you still well connected? So, Mr. Nitwa, just another small thing. I mean, from a perspective of whatever you have talked about the policy for domestic manufacturers, do you, from some perspective, do you also feel some challenges, let's say, coming from the manufacturers themselves? I mean, when you look at from a government's perspective, do you want the manufacturers to come up to this challenge, or is there a message you want to give them, which you feel that that you don't see the kind of feedback which you thought would come, or where you want to really communicate something to them?
Mirchi, I would like to mention here that in the public procurement order, we have a provision that if for a certain product we have sufficient capacity in the country as well as competition, then we can reserve that product, the public procurement of that product only for local suppliers. Now, we have been trying to get some information on this. Rajiv ji has given us certain information, and we are getting from the state regulators about the capacity of the manufacturers. So if we are confident that we have sufficient capacity in those products, we would like to reserve procurement of those products only from we would like this help in giving us exact data. It is operation, we can come up with an order in that regard. And I would also like to mention here that we are also actively considering use of import duties in case there is a feeling that it is required for a that would also be done.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a good message. Mr. Rajiv Nath, okay, are you able to hear us? I think Rajiv still continues to have some challenges. So Ganesh, may I come to you in case? Ganesh, you have been in the center space of medical device manufacturing, especially the high-end one. And like us and you, we both are, kind of living this dream of creating a large global multinational out of India. So in the last couple of years, the challenges which you have faced, why do you feel that India, despite getting some kind of self-reliance in the low-end medical devices, has still not been able to get even a marginal reliance on high-end medical devices, and we still have more than 85% imports?
Thanks a lot, Gurmeet. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah.
And thanks, Mr. Rinwa, for all the supports that government is trying to provide to the industry. We really, really appreciate. I think there is a sea change that we are seeing right now. Now, coming back to the question that Gurmeet has asked, there are two components to it. One component, can we manufacture high-end medical device? And the second component, why not then we are not doing? To answer to the first question, can we? I think Gurmeet has done it. We have done it. we have shown the capability to manufacture high-end medical devices. These high-end medical devices need precision manufacturing, engineering capability, focus on quality, and the success that we have got into the coronary stent space. Right now, Indian companies control 60% of the market, and stent is actually the one of the highest end in medical device in terms of quality. So that shows that we will be able to do it. But now the question comes: why we are not doing? Why we are limiting ourselves only to stent? Why we are not doing it in other field? Let me take up one by one. Gurmeet is a businessman. I am a businessman. There are other businessmen here. Rajiv ji is a businessman. The first thing we'll do as a businessman to enter into any particular space, we would like to see how big is the market and what investment we need to make to become one of the top 3, top 4 player. What kind of market share we can get. Unfortunately, in most of the high-end medical device, the Indian market is not large enough. We have a huge population, 1.3 crore, 130 crore population, one of the largest in the world. But the market in each of these product category, you can talk about Indian medical device being $11 billion. But if it comprises of thousands of products, 70 to 80% of the product will have a market of 50 or 100 share. Just give you an example. You are supplying Impella. Can you manufacture an Impella in India where you need 100 crores or more investment? Do I have a market in India of that much? No, we don't have. Do you, AAA devices, which is another high-end medical devices? The total implant is 1,000 in a year in India. Don't you have a large market? Yes, there is a substantially large market. But today, if I bring an Impella, which is a high-end, innovative product, there is no market. And why there is no market? There is not a reimbursement agency here even in India. Tomorrow, even if you get the product approval, you don't know what price I'll be paid. CGHS doesn't cover it. Ayushman Bharat doesn't cover it. No state scheme covers it. Neither the insurance company. Now, with that kind of scenario, where can you build this market? If you go to US, if you go to Japan, if you go to any other country, as soon as you get a product approval, there's a reimbursement file that goes. They create a reimbursement category for you, and the product get approved in various insurance scheme and government scheme. That is not there at all. And without this, it will be very difficult for us to pump in 100, 150 share and in a 20, 30 crore product market where there are already 5 players. We will not be able to, we'll be losing money. The second point, okay, what about India? Let's move on to the other. All the larger markets, let's say that SIM AAA or Impella, all the larger market are regulated market like US, Japan. And to get into US, Japan, we need another 300 crore investment, not 100 crore. You'll go into 300 crore investment. And for that, we don't have any support system. And you make that 300 crore investment, you can, but where is that 300 crore? We are all small to medium sized company. Investing 300 crore and waiting for 5 to 6 years will be very, very difficult for us. We can do it, but I don't think we have the scale right now. There are not many entrepreneurs in India, whereas to a little medium sized company, I can buy out technology. We don't have many entrepreneurs here in India. And probably because, we don't have a large market, neither there is a financial support system to target to develop market. We don't have that. So that's why you don't have many entrepreneurs here. Another point that I'll tell you, most of the time in India, we believe medical device is like a pharma industry. It's not. Medical device is more closer to engineering industry than pharma. We are more engineering company. We are very less pharma company. So all those rules and regulations for pharma, when you apply on us, it will not work. just for example, coronary stent, why this big growth happened in Indian pharma industry? Because in US, they created this policy for generic pharma, which most of the Indian companies were able to take benefit of. That happened in 85, 90s. In for coronary stent or Impella or these high-end devices, it will never be generic. So if you think that like pharma will be able to come up with policies and medical device can grow, no, that's not going to happen. It's an engineering industry, just like Maruti and Mercedes or any other car. You cannot put oh, it's a car. Engineering products cannot be looked at as generic product. The last point, we don't have the full understanding of high-end medical device. The traditional thought that just develop a product doesn't work here. You have to create that engineering product, you have to do proof of concept, you have to do preclinical investment, and you have to make huge clinical investment. Just to give you an example, if you try to make 5 crore, the lowest investment is actually in the R&D product development. You can invest 5 to 10 crore and come up with these products, or 20 crore. The investment will go again another 15-20 crore into the manufacturing capability. But the cost will started piling up in preclinical. The preclinical cost will again go 20 to 30 CR, and the clinical cost will go 150 to 200 CR. We always underestimate that. I think our understanding needs to be much better when you talk about development. Even the costing, when the government asks us, oh, what is your costing? We talk about preclinical, clinical, oh, no, keep it. We are asking for manufacturing. No. That's where you are putting us into pharma. You are not talking about medical device. I think this understanding needs to be there. We can change it, but I think these are the things that the government has to keep in mind. Gurmeet, you are on mute.
Thanks, Ganesh. Very valid points, and I think it will be interesting for everyone to know that, especially in high-end medical device manufacturing, almost 75% and more people. I mean, these are greenfield projects where people have come from different industries and started this, and you don't probably have more than 15 to 20 where a large existing medical device or a large existing pharmaceutical company or a healthcare company has diverted into the high-end medical device manufacturing. And I think Ganesh has elucidated the challenges pretty well. So I think we now have back Rajiv. Rajiv, if you just want to say something so that we are sure that you are audible to us.
Thank you, Gurmeet. There are some Airtel network issues over here, local area stuff.
Okay, great.
So now it's
okay, so Rajiv, I recommend you that you put your video off so that your volume becomes you're more audible to everyone, because then the network issue will get sorted out. So Rajiv, coming back to you, we heard the government side of it, and then Ganesh pointed out a few of the challenges. And you have been instrumental in keeping the interest of domestic manufacturers since the last 4 or 5 years. And together we have been to a lot of meetings. So when it started with this Made in India, there was a huge confidence. So do you think this Atmanirbhar Bharat is old wine in the new bottle, or is it something you feel will actually create a difference? Rajiv, you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So thank you. And I was listening into Ganesh ji, and yes, he's very right about the challenges which the high-end equipment manufacturers face. But most of them are, I would say, within the issue of corporate management. But then when we come to becoming Atmanirbhar, what we cannot do by what our team can deliver in our company is the question, where we need support of the government. What we can manage, there are no issues. That is our job. The problem comes for the other issues. And over there, in COVID, we have seen the excellent teamwork of the government departments with manufacturers, and wonders have been achieved. So if the government can take up, put it basket by basket, certain disposables first, certain consumables first, certain implants first. So category wise, and share data with the manufacturers. What is the imports coming in? What is the value of the imports coming in? What is the average price? How the government will support domestic buying? I'm sure many manufacturers will jump into manufacturing. For the existing manufacturers, they had moved towards imports. So now is question of making them focus again on manufacturing. And here there are 5-6 key points which are key. First and foremost is cash flow. People are not being paid for nearly 1 year by various state governments and 2 to 6 months by various central government institutions. So without that, it is very difficult to survive. Second is the issue of custom duty. On some products, 5% surcharge was put in February in the budget. On the other products, it is required. We have seen that by having custom duty of 15 to 20%, how the mobile phone and the consumer electronic industry is growing so rapidly. The same can be done here. Because if automotive industry can do good, mobile phone can do good, will they do good like medical devices if the duty is reduced to 0 is the big question, or to 5%. So we don't seek too much protection. WTO allows 40%, but at least 15% should be available, and that also can be in progressive manner. What we don't make, keep it 5 to 7.5%. As we start exporting, give us more protection. The second issue is regarding the issue of medical device law. The rules are now separate. We have to now rapidly move from the rules under the Drug Act to a separate law. So people will not be afraid to be treated as a criminal. Recently, there was again a notification or judgment by Supreme Court in the Pharmaceutical Drug Act, where the drug inspector has got the powers to arrest any businessman. Now that fear psychosis has to be taken away because we are engineering products, we are not pharmaceuticals. So separate law which Niti Aayog has proposed needs to go forward. The third area is in the issue of challenges in the issue of private hospitals. By having low pricing, we're not able to succeed if the buyer will not be looking at our low pricing. If the buyer will be looking at the MRP and the high margin he is making from competing products, ethical manufacturers lose out to high MRP products, both domestic or imports. So if you have to clean up the marketplace, the government needs to urgently act on this. Malini may also have her views on this. The next issue is regarding import of second-hand equipment. We don't allow second-hand iPhones, we don't allow second-hand cars. Then why are we allowing second-hand equipment in the absence of regulations without checking on calibration, patient safety issues, quality issues? The sixth area is regarding incentivization. When we say that innovation needs to be incentivized, quality needs to be incentivized, domestic manufacturing needs to be incentivized, then public procurement also has to be incentivizing domestic manufacturing. So, like Mr. Rinva was saying, and I heard earlier in another session, Mr. Gupta from DPIPP was talking about the support being available from Buy India. Why we are being less than other countries? Why we are being less than World Bank? If they can give 15% price preference to domestic companies, we can give 10% on domestic content basis, 5% on quality basis, or 2-3% on innovation basis. These are my thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rajiv. Excellent. I think you have briefed, all the critical points very, very secondly. So now moving to Malini. Malini, you have heard the government side. You have also heard, from a business perspective and also from a overall industry perspective, the thoughts. One of the very important factor for the vibrant domestic industry is beyond the business objectives. It is very important that because what we saw during the pandemic was that the domestic industry coming up and helping out the hospitals to treat patients in a better way. From a legal perspective, when you look at a lot of multinational companies, they had very, very strong guidelines for their own employees, for their well-being, to ensure that there's the business continuity and people were not really moving on to the hospitals. And you saw people from domestic industry, they also looked upon this as an opportunity. But more than that, they were willing to go out, reach out to hospitals, provide the supplies, and at least help the doctors in whatever best they could to treat the patients. So there is a thought, and it is a very nationalistic idea to actually have a good domestic products. And you have been a crusader in the cause of patient protection for exerting their rights. You were instrumental in getting the price control on stents, and you are still fighting for a lot of such causes. So as per you, do you also see a vibrant domestic industry integral to making healthcare accessible and affordable for Indian patients?
Thanks, Gurmeet. So I think that if there was ever a doubt about this, there can no longer be one regarding the importance of a vibrant domestic industry for providing affordability to patients and consumers. Of course, after our experience of the pandemic. And the global pandemic was really a time when self-sufficiency has been of utmost importance. Whether you take the case of testing kits, PPE, critical equipment like ventilators, it was basically each country to its own. And so we are happy, of course, that in each area, the Indian industry has stepped up, which has really been crucial to India's response to the pandemic. However, this has not really been without hiccups. We did see quite a lot of chaos in several areas. There was a proliferation of manufacturers without adequate quality controls, huge issues in validation of products. For example, even till today, the validation protocols of ICMR in approving test kits has never been made public, but also for the other products that I mentioned. There has been confusion over specifications such as for ventilators and PPE, and subsequently also issues in procurement. So this, I would say, has hurt patients and healthcare workers, no doubt, in availability, price, and quality. So it is like, even though the government is fully encouraging the medical device industry to serve the needs of the people, it was also creating hurdles through a lack of coordination, intransparency, such as a lot of intransparency in procurement, and a lack of regulation. So this points to actually, I would say, a lack of enabling government policies even prior to COVID. And from a consumer standpoint, we need both enabling policies towards local manufacturing and innovation, as well as policy coherence. So the increased focus on medical devices, which got a huge boost due to COVID, needs to be sustained, but it should not take place in a lopsided manner that ignores and fails to consider the needs of consumers. Which is to define the priorities, strong quality checks, and not compromising on regulations for pricing, curbing unethical marketing, for example. And the regulations specifically in terms of pricing should not be piecemeal, because this is what we have seen till now. We have seen very limited price controls being applied on specific products like coronary stents and name plants. Often self-regulation is also being offered as a first step. But I would say that in the current circumstances, with the extent of the corrupt practices in pushing medical devices, that some of which Rajiv also mentioned, the profiteering by unchecked margins, and the actual dire need of patients and consumers in the country, regulation must be the immediate step. So we cannot, wait to try out self-regulation before going in for proper regulation, because it is much overdue. And price regulations cannot just cover medical device makers, but also the mediating actors through which the devices are accessed or the services are rendered. So, for example, the private hospitals and also the labs, where we have seen huge evidence of profiteering.
Yeah, thanks, Malini, and very well said. I think you always propagate this, that the interest of a business cannot come at the expense of patient safety, and especially the affordability and accessibility. And as you rightly said in the end, that regulations need to play a very, very vital role. And this is a very, very important aspect of the whole, in business environment, especially for healthcare currently India. So when we look at medical devices, we started regulating it probably somewhere around 2006, and that was against a court order, and not that the government was actually prepared to regulate medical devices. And from there on, I think there's a huge amount of trek which has already been covered by the government, and if you look at the time it took developed countries like US FDA or other strong regulated countries like Japan to come up with the guidelines, that took their own sweet years. But at the same time, there's a huge challenge for Indian regulatory to catch up very, very soon, because now there's a huge parity of product launches. There's a huge parity of the expectations of the patients. I mean, something getting launched in US or getting launched in Europe, everybody expects to also the same to access the products also in India. And gone are the days when you saw a lot of these high net worth individuals or politicians traveling to US or Europe for treatments. Now you selectively see it, but to a larger extent, I mean, everybody is getting treated in India. Now, the challenge also is that when they get treated, they insist on imported products because there is a feeling that the Indian regulation is not as strong as it should be. But we also must understand that this is also a journey. This is not just that what you expect today and tomorrow you want that to happen. So I think this brings us to a very important point. Where is our Indian regulatory system today? And Rama, I want to come to you because you're an expert in this field and you have come across regulatory across nations. So how do you comment on it? Where do you see Indian regulatory today being conducive or non-conducive of all our vision about domestic medical device industry?
Thank you, Mr. Gurmeet. Looking at the regulatory framework in the country, okay? This is a market, this is a segment where when we talk about the healthcare industry, I'm talking from a user perspective, the users being the hospitals or the diagnostic centers or the other healthcare organizations. The acceptance, first of all, has to come from the user industry for the regulatory framework in the country. Because patients at the end of the day, they do not have much understanding or connect with the regulatory framework. Because in healthcare, patients go by what the doctors prescribe and what the hospitals give access to them. But patients cannot make any choices, or they hardly make any choices on their own. So looking at the regulatory framework, how connected is the current regulatory framework with the user industry? And let us understand if the hospitals are aware of the Indian regulatory framework or any other healthcare organizations or the healthcare structure. I don't think so, honestly, because this is something which I've been hearing in the forums, in the user industry forums, the hospital forums. They hardly have any connect and understanding of the regulatory framework. The user industry's understanding and acceptance of the regulatory framework is always linked to USFDA or the European Union regulations. The reason for that is this is a domain, this is a space which was actually invaded, I would say, by the imports. And this has been the journey for many decades. And when you have a country, when you have a system where you import close to about 70 to 80% or slightly more of your medical equipments and medical devices, the needs of the industry or the country. So the user industry always considers the global regulators like USFDA or the European Union as whatever they prescribe, whatever they validate as a gold standard. Our user industry is not much familiar with our domestic regulator, Indian regulator, at least now in the country where with effect from 1st of April, they said all medical devices in the country are brought under the regulatory framework. How many users are aware of this? No, they don't. The reason for that is our regulatory system could not establish much connect with the user industry. I think maybe this is the time for the regulatory body to step in and then try to improve the confidence of all the stakeholders. The important stakeholder being the user industry and also the communities, the public or the patients or the consumers, whomever, how do we call them as? That is irrelevant. How connected are the communities with the regulatory framework in the country? Because patients do have their own rights. Okay, when it comes to healthcare, patients do have their rights, and how knowledgeable they are and how aware they are about this the regulations in the country. Coming to the other important stakeholder is the manufacturing ecosystem. Manufacturers being the regulated domain now. How connected are the manufacturers to the regulatory framework in the country? See, when we say regulation here, it is not just about the manufacturers who manufacture only the finished goods. There are manufacturers who are into components. There are manufacturers into various other raw materials. And this is a space, a domain where the country had seen only imports. We do not have a strong manufacturing ecosystem, be it for the finished goods or for the components or for the raw materials in the medical devices domain in the space. If a country has to become self-reliant, Atmanirbhar, that is the objective and the vision of the Prime Minister's office. If that objective and the vision has to be achieved, what is important is the complete supply chain. The complete supply chain has to be connected and it has to be addressed by the regulatory framework also. It is not just sufficient if we have just the finished good manufacturers bringing them under the regulatory framework. When you have all your supply chain is completely dependent on the imported goods. We still have manufacturers who say that, of course, we do manufacture, but most of the components and the raw materials which are used are imported into the country. We had a regulatory system or a regulatory framework in the country all these years, which was kind of regulating mostly importers and kind of the licensing issues or any other issues of the imported products. But a self-reliant economy has to focus more inwards, mostly into strengthening the domestic manufacturing ecosystem, the complete ecosystem. And to strengthen the domestic manufacturing ecosystem, it needs a 360-degree perspective. Validation of a product is very important. It's very critical. And validation happens only if we have a strong ecosystem and a quality focus. The manufacturers, the complete supply chain should be aware of the standards. They should be made aware of the importance of certifications. When we talk about certifications, the product certifications play an important role here. So the product certifications is an area and it's a particular space where we do have a lot of gaps. We do not have good product certification schemes in the country. And this is unfortunately domain, medical devices is a domain where the companies, when they are entering into the domestic market, Indian market, trying to meet the needs of the Indian healthcare industry, they all walk in with imported products and the product certifications which are validated or approved or by US market or by the European Union. And it is so sad and unfortunate to mention here that our own user industry, our own healthcare users do not recognize our own certifications, whether it is something to do with the product certification or with a management system, quality management system certification. We do not have a strong testing infrastructure in the country. At least the COVID has exposed so many gaps in the system. And when we have a country where almost about only hardly 10-15% are into domestic manufacturing and all others are imported, still the manufacturers, the domestic industry rose to the occasion. They just rose to the occasion and they try to plug into the gaps in the system and try to meet the country's requirements. They really delivered so much and they have done so well. And with so many limitations and challenges that the industry was having all these years, if they could really deliver so much, just imagine a complete strong ecosystem which is empowered by the regulatory framework, the policy makers. We can do much more. We can do so much actually.
Thanks, Rama. Thanks. I think these are wonderful comments. And as you rightly put in, you have elucidated the challenges which are currently there. And Rajiv, here I want to just come back to you briefly. So my final set of questions to everyone, my request will be not to take more than 1.5 to 2 minutes as your concluding comments on this. Rajiv, we have challenges of regulatory, we have challenges of testing labs. Ganesh talked about investments and all these things. And suddenly, one of the things which the government realizes is why don't you create clusters? And you saw a lot of medical devices being announced by central government, by state governments. Very quickly, rapid fire answer. Would you think these medical device parks, I mean, despite the announcements, we don't see too many people lining up, or maybe it's just taking them time to understand it. So how would you look at medical device park solving all these issues which domestic manufacturers are having?
Medical device parks can solve the issue only when the state government in which the park is related understands that the manufacturers are not seeking subsidies. They are seeking a revenue support model. They are seeking a reduced capex model, whereby they don't have to invest everything upfront on a huge investment, and it can be a staggered investment on a plug and play facility. This is the first and foremost. And secondly, like I mentioned previously, until the central government is going to come out with conducive policies, these parks will remain green parks. The park at Tamil Nadu from HLL has remained a green park. Gujarat has been talking about a medical device park for the last 15 years. It's only Andhra Pradesh, Mr. Naidu, who understood the issue and has attracted the manufacturers by putting in quality infrastructure, both from quality testing point of view and reduced capex point of view by sharing common manufacturing facilities. That's the bottom line.
Thank you. Thank you. Very quick, very to the point answer. Ganesh, coming back to you, I think there needs to be a strong message also for the other stakeholders which we are missing. You and me who have been leading this journey of the high-end Indian medical device industry, you know, recently we saw how much more we have to do compared to our multinational counterparts. Remember last month, we at Translumina published the highest incidence of, highest evidence of drug-eluting stent, which was almost, which is 10 years compared to almost 5 years by any other multinational. You know, you tried your best and published an article also in Lancet about your comparison. And remember, despite we creating these kind of data, we don't publish it in Asian journals or Indian journals because the doctors, the patients, in case they're asking one question to a product manufactured by imported company, they ask 10 questions to us. And we think that we have to work extra hard to prove the quality of our product compared to most of the multinational companies. So what is your message? What is the challenge and what is your message for the entire ecosystem? When I talk, I mean hospitals, doctors, and their overwhelming dependence on something which is imported. So how do you comment on this?
Thanks, Gurmeet. So I think, you know, it's really correct. You know, I think there is a perception factor that we are fighting with. The perception factor is that if it is made in India, God only knows what is the quality about. Even if you, you know, you start manufacturing anything in India, ye bahar ka hai. That's it. That's it is required to sell that product. And if you're in India, you need a Lancet publication, you need a circulation publication, the highest level of clinical study. I think that I'll just give an example. There is Dr. Renua is here. So there is a hospital in Ahmedabad, you know, back at our home, civil hospital. You know, the government said that, you know, you cannot have a category of USFDA. So what they did, they created 3 categories: USFDA, 1 category, C 1 category, DCGI 1 category. Before that, there's no DCGI or C category. So they say, hey, here, we have created a category for you. And rest assured, first of all, they should not have done these 3 categories. And rest assured, whatever under DCGI will never be used. And more importantly, they will ask a EMD, a deposit for each product. So what will happen to the Indian companies will end up spending 1.52 CR as a deposit and no return to it. So that's how, it's a live example how the government is coming up with the right intention and the users are trying to really create a different scenario. So these are the things I think the government has to put focus on creating that market perception. Government need to help us, like Make in India brand image. In the medical device sector also, we have to create, along with the government, a brand image. Today, the world is a marketing world. The more you can market yourself as a high quality product, you can establish that in the people's mind, the better it will be for us. So that would be my suggestion.
Thanks, Ganesh. And Malini, concluding remark from you. I hope you are still around.
Yes.
Yeah, Malini, you heard Ganesh, and we all wish and hope that you were here 20 years back when multinationals were riding the roost and doing all these things around. Now you came at a point when domestic manufacturers, especially the high-end manufacturers, are just in their infancy, and there is a considerable amount of this amount of money that goes into research, into a lot of other things. As Ganesh put out, something like 20-22 CR just goes into a preclinical data, creation of preclinical data. Now you are also advocating price controls, which you are rightfully doing so, because at the end of the day, patient affordability is a key. But don't you think that somewhere putting too much pressure on these price controls will ultimately diminish the innovation and the capabilities of also Indian manufacturers, whereby our country will never be able to stand as a company which is proud of their domestic industry, especially in healthcare?
Okay, so I think that at the current moment that we're in, we have witnessed that push comes to shove, the Indian companies are fully capable of innovating under pressure and in a fast track mode. and I think we've seen this very obviously in the case of test kit manufacturing and several other things. You're more aware of this than me. And price controls, unfortunately, are being made out to be a blunt policy instrument that doesn't give due importance to advancements and innovations. Now, from our perspective, this is not true and is part of the propaganda being put out by foreign companies. Perhaps this is also part of your anxiety as Indian companies. But I would say that a lot of this sort of idea has been propagated by companies, particularly based out of the US. In fact, there is already an open mechanism through which any product that can provide evidence of superiority can claim a higher price. And the lack of success in claiming the higher prices exposes the absence of innovation that is linked to the better performance in terms of clinical outcomes or any other concrete parameters. So right now we have a situation where the foreign industry has become obsessed with making incremental changes and passing these off as advancements in order to continuously launch products at high prices. But what we really need is not these minor tweaks as much as well-researched and tested products. So I'll just, just give a small example and then I'll wrap up. There's obviously been a lot of discussion about cardiac stents, so I'm not going to talk about that. But the government is currently, and the DOP is involved in this, currently reviewing its decision to cap the prices of knee implants. Now, knee replacements remain some of the most needed surgeries in India. And under the pressure from the foreign lobbies and the US government, the DOP and other offices are considering once again to introduce subcategories with different price caps to accommodate these new models of the foreign companies. Yet, we've seen as recently as last year in 2019, a model like the Attune S Plus of J&J was rejected by our own experts for a higher price because there were concerns regarding safety and quality. So I'm highlighting this just because it is important to acknowledge the influence also of lobbies and pressure exerted as part of bilateral relationships between a much more powerful country and India. And I think the only message I would like to say also, because Mr. Rinvaz here, is that it is essential for India to withstand this external pressure to do away or dilute our price controls, which are really India's sovereign rights.
Thanks, Malini. And I also believe that despite the fact that, while you create your advocacy, all of us also are reviewing a lot of our portfolios to understand which are the products we should be coming up. And it's very important to have people like you around who also have who also limit our cowboyish approach of creating the products which only have incremental innovation and not necessarily something significant. Mr. Rinwa, in case you are around, if I can invite you to give your final comments. You have heard the various stakeholders, you have heard Malini, you have heard Rama, who talked about regulation, and Ganesh and Rajiv talking about all the challenges. Now, one aspect that remains, Mr. Rinwa, is that would be a request from a medical device industry, is that, and where Rajiv has also been propagating this for quite a while, that is it possible that we can centralize all the initiatives to an extent, whether it is regulation, whether it is incentivization, because a typical medical device manufacturer today has to run at various doors for various things. I mean, if you talk about incentives, you go to a different department of science and technology. If you have to talk about regulations, it comes under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So one is the standardization, and secondly, your final comments on whatever you would have heard, that how you see Indian industry taking this challenge.
Thank you, Gurmeet, once again. I think one good thing which has happened recently is that the devices, all the devices are now 1st April 2020 being regulated as drugs, or at least regulated. Because earlier we were facing this problem that other than that 23 categories of devices, the other devices were not being regulated at all. Now, there may be a point of view that we need to have a separate law for medical devices other than the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. But at least one good thing has happened is that the devices are now regulated, though some time has been given for voluntary registration to the manufacturers. And as far as DOP is concerned, we have come up with a body called Pharma Bureau, though it deals both with pharmaceuticals as well as medical devices. And the idea is to handhold the manufacturers of medical devices as well as pharma if they have any issue pending with different departments or ministries of Government of India or with the state government. The Pharma Bureau would be happy to handhold and sort out the roadblocks. And we are also DOP is coming out with a policy on R&D on pharmaceuticals and medical devices. And I hope with that policy, we would be able to give a push to domestic R&D and innovation and things like that. And we are constantly working on ways to support domestic medical device industry, how we can incentivize domestic production of medical devices. And with the recent initiatives, we are hopeful that we will be successful to a considerable extent. And with constant interaction with the domestic industry, we think that we'll be able to at least get a grip of the exact points of problems where we need to intervene, or where we can come out with some policy or some scheme. Unfortunately, in past many years, the medical devices in Department of Pharmaceuticals was neglected to a considerable extent because there was no joint secretary looking after these devices for a long time. The subject was shifted from officer to officer after 3-4 months. And it's a very complex subject, medical devices. It's not easy to get a grip of this subject because all the devices are very different. And it's very different from the pharmaceuticals. So I think with continuity and with this Pharma Bureau, we would come out with better policies and schemes in times to come. And you'll hear more good news from department.
Thank you, Mr. Rinva. And I must say that one impression considerably which has come, as you rightly said, from the time a specialized position has been created as a JS for medical devices. I mean, the accessibility of the department has been immensely positive. I mean, you are responding on WhatsApp, you are responding on emails. The appointments are very easy. And I think this part of the fact, which was very important, because earlier, let's say 5-6 years back, I mean, there were a huge opaqueness, and the transparency which has creeped in. I think this is very, very encouraging for the medical device manufacturers. And now I think we are to close the session as the time allotted to us is over. As a final message, I just want to first thank all the panelists for spending their time out, and we had a great panel. All the panelists were our experts in the field, so I think a lot can be taken out of these discussions. Secondly, it's an appeal to all the stakeholders because, as Rajiv, Ganesh, everybody put out, it's an appeal to hospitals, it's an appeal to patients, it's an appeal to doctors, it's an appeal to government, and everyone who has stakes in making a vibrant domestic industry. That the idea of domestic industry is something which time has come, and we all need to contribute. I mean, we all need an understanding, we all need tolerance, there would be some mistakes which can be made. There could be a possibility where the high-end medical devices may take a little while. I mean, you may have 1 or 2 adverse events to begin with, but the idea is that every country has led the growth in this particular way, and it is a time which has come for all of us to put our act together and create the way we have done in IT. I think it's a great opportunity for us to create the same kind of business acumen and the same kind of industry in medical devices, for which we have huge amount of possibilities. We have few of the best manufacturers, people who have worked in big multinationals are ready to come up. I mean, couple of them, as I said in the beginning, most of the projects started by high-end medical devices are greenfield. But at the same time, there are many people who are working in the large corporation who are willing to come and start their own entrepreneurial stint. And the more easy the policy becomes, the more accommodation which stakeholders would give. There's a highest possibility that your patients, who is the end and who's the most important stakeholder at the end of the spectrum, gets benefited. So my sincere thanks to the panelists, and also my sincere thanks to the organizers for creating this excellent panel. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.